And on to new business. Chance.
Yeah, can everyone see my screen? The slide shows up.
Yes.
All right,
He
cool.
should be here in a second. And then when are you going to do it today?
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Christina. I just want a quick intro to Mr. Gary Coleman. He's our new DPAC member appointed by council freshly as of Tuesday evening, and he is one of our two DBA representatives. So, Gary, I don't know if you wanted to say a few words about yourself, what brought you here into the wild world of parking, kind of what your connection is to DBA and what you do downtown. I think a lot of folks here know you, but just in case.
Yeah, Gary Coleman. I'm a board member of DBA. On Cape Fear Spice Merchants downtown. Use the Market Street parking deck pretty much every day and street parking when I can find it to unload things. Um, I spent about 24 years in federal government before coming and have lived on and off in Wilmington since 2001.
Excellent. Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
And as I alluded to you a few weeks ago, uh, it's kind of a boring meeting here every third Thursday, but I think we do important work. So welcome aboard. Appreciate the assistance and the support.
Thank you.
All right, on to the residential parking fee review. We went into detail on this one last month. And this is a fee schedule that we had not included in our 3-year recommendation to council back in 2022. Just a quick recap, because since Gary wasn't here last month. Last arrived 2019. These are just the annual permit fees for the residential parking permit program, essentially south of the CBD, roughly. And staff had offered some higher recommendations, higher recommended fee increases, and I think where we landed with the committee for further review was really roughly a 25% increase, kind of based upon some inflationary adjustments through the years. These fees have only been changed one time in the permits history. So in 2019, that was the first time we had revised these fees since I think 2001. So they've been pretty static, pretty stable. I'd like to say minimal impacts on these residents that partake in the program through the years. Where the committee landed was really the numbers in red. Numbers in black are the current fees. Numbers in red are the current recommendations and kind of what was discussed at DPAC back in February. And roughly 25% escalators. Some of them a little bit more just because of where the fee landed and where we thought it really made sense. Instead of going, $7.25, we just went straight to 10 on a few of them. Michael McGinty, our road rep, is not here in person today, but he had requested some data. I sent out data to DPAC, I believe, last week. Gary, apologies if I didn't include you on that. I'm not sure if you were on that email or not, but it's basically a PDF just kind of outlining our residential parking sales for the last calendar year. I think we had kind of got hung up in a lot of discussion on the 48-hour short-term permits per se. And the data we pulled, we had only sold 10 of those 48-hour short-term permits throughout the whole calendar year. So it's a pretty small number. So give me one sec here. I think Michael is actually trying to join us here. So give me one sec. I'll try to get him on. Sorry about that. All right, sorry about that. So really the data the data really just told us pretty much it's majority residential properties purchasing these permits. There are some single family home rentals out there. There's, I think, 3 bed and breakfasts throughout the district that are allowed to purchase the permits. There may be a few short-term rentals sprinkled in there. I'm not aware of any. If there are short-term rentals within the district purchasing permits, they're really purchasing it as the ownership, which we allow, and then purchasing the 1 or 2 visitor or long-term visitor passes. So I didn't see anything that flagged or stood out here to me. I don't know if any other committee members saw anything they want to question, comment on, any more commentary in regards to the fee recommendations coming from staff on this one.
Chance, with the RPP chart that you sent us via email, are you saying that there are 270 properties participating in the program, and of that 170 are purchasing permits for parking?
No, that's a great question, and I probably could have added a little more clarity to some of this. So there are a total of 270 properties within the geographic outline of the blocks that are part of the RPP program, Jeff. And of those 270, 170 properties are purchasing permits.
Okay.
So not everyone with a property within the geographic boundaries are purchasing permits. You got to remember, Jeff, you probably know as well as many, there are a lot of driveways out there. Yeah. So some folks might only have 1 car, 2 cars, and have a driveway that's got the capacity big enough to handle any and all of their parking needs. So
sure. I just wanted the basis. I wasn't following it, so that makes sense. Thank you.
Still don't have Michael on, but it's all right. Anybody else?
Chance, where did we land on the ability for a permittee to purchase a short-term visitor pass? I think that when we left that discussion, we were looking for if an individual had 1 annual permit, then they were able to purchase a 40-hour short-term pass or something to that effect. Was that kosher or legal?
Yeah, I think I didn't ask that question after I saw the data. So good reminder there. So one of the questions or comments, if we could put a stipulation on the short-term visitor permits. The question was, could we require the purchase of both long-term visitor permits before anyone could purchase a 48-hour short-term permit, if I'm recalling that correctly? Meaning it could maybe deter a short-term rental property from kind of skirting the system and spending less money versus the residents I think that was what I was kind of hearing. The data we pulled out of those 10, out of the only 10 we sold in the full calendar year, every single one of those properties, 4 properties purchased 10 48-hour permits. All 4 of those properties had already purchased both long-term visitor permits. So it's kind of already happening naturally. And I didn't even ask legal about this because I felt it may not even be needed after we had pulled this data. So we didn't have a gross amount of properties out there just purchasing the 48-hour permits. It was only 4. And out of those 4, all 4 of them had purchased both the $40 and the $100 long-term visitor permits. When we pull this data, it kind of makes sense. Those 48-hour short-term permits were there since day 1. And originally, up until 2019, we only had 1 long-term visitor permit option. So I think probably pre-2019, you had a lot more properties purchasing these one-off 48-hour passes for, parties or family or whomever coming into town. I think since we added the ability for properties to purchase a second long-term visitor, that gives them some flexibility. It probably cut down drastically on the number of those 2-day permits that they were purchasing. So yeah, in the calendar year, we only had 10, which is a pretty small number. Michael, I see you're joining us now. I don't know if you had any question, commentary on this one.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for going for pulling the data together and going into the analysis of it. And I think as long as there's such a minimal use of those 48-hour permits, I'd hate to put anybody to work to close a loop that's really not being exploited. However, I think as I said at the last meeting, businesses are good and they should be good at finding ways to make money. I mean, that's what they're in business to do, to benefit us all in the long run. But I'd just like to be able, I think if it becomes exploited, I think that we should go back and revisit it as long as we understand that. And I don't know how you document that, but that's my reaction to it.
Yeah, Michael, this little task, and this is great discussion, and this is data. Honestly, I don't know that I've pulled this data in a long time. This is data that we could probably pull annually, semi-annually. Probably makes sense annually, since really the permits are really sold for the most part 2 months out of the year, and then lingering for some of those shorter term permits. We could pull this data every year and bring it back to DPAC and discuss it. And I think probably where any kind of stipulations probably need to lie are in the residential parking guidelines. So I would say we revisit this every year on just the data as a whole and the guidelines as a whole. And if something's aloof or something's changing dynamically in the neighborhood, regardless of the fee or the business model or whatever, if something's changing, then, I think you look at it as a guidelines as a whole with any kind of stipulations that kind of help the system as a whole.
I'm on board with that. That sounds good.
Mike, I don't know if you polled residents in Rowe. I saw you copied Dennis in on that email. Any feedback, good, bad, or indifferent on kind of our increases, the lower inflationary based increases?
To be honest, I haven't really. I've sorted out a couple of people. I haven't had any feedback or reaction. So it may be, just something that they, given the fact that they're not all that onerous in terms of dollar amounts and an increase, I don't think we'll have much of a problem. Dennis didn't seem to think so either. So
okay, good. It's good news.
I wish I could tell you more. I just haven't spoken to that many people about it.
No, it's good. Sometimes less is more when it comes to looking at parking fees. Anybody else? I think if there's no other comments, I think we'd be looking to take a motion of support for the fee revision in red here.
I'll move that.
Yeah, I'll second that as well.
Michael and Jeff, was that you, Jeff?
It's Troy.
I think it may have been Troy.
Oh, Troy's second.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, it's a little bit difficult to comprehend everybody's voices. Thank you. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. Chance, when do these rates take effect, and when will the property owners receive notice that the rates are increasing?
So this will be part of the budget process. We'll give our recommendation to the city manager. If manager's okay with it, he'll put in his recommended budget that goes to council. Council will have 2 public hearings, first reading, 2 public hearings, or first reading, a public hearing, and I think a final reading or something. There's a 3-step process. It would officially go into effect July 1, but our permits don't expire. Our annual permits don't expire until January 31st, and I think February So in reality, for a majority of these residents buying the permits, they would see these new fees next year, December, January, somewhere there, whenever we start renewing the permits.
Okay, all right.
We
So
could
the
give notice, I think we've got a pretty good email chain. We could give notice at any time post city council adoption and probably send out a reminder leading into renewal.
Okay, so there's going to be quite a bit of a gap in time before the new rates take effect. It'll be they will carry the permits through the duration of expiration, and then when they renew December, January, February of next year, then these new rates will take effect.
Correct.
Okay, great.
And just side note here, Michael, this will probably be a good comeback to what you had mentioned. Within the city strategic plan, and I'll bring some stuff back collectively to the group as we progress and just kind of get more objectives and data and kind of where we are. But within the city's strategic plan as it relates to parking, not only are we looking at long-term downtown strategies, we're also looking at long-term strategies at some of the outlying commercial areas that are growing and popping up, Soda Pop, cargo districts, South Front, even looking at some areas far out toward Wrightsville Beach, where some potential parking strategies could come into play. And I think adjacent to those commercial parking strategies in most of these areas, there's a pretty close adjacent neighboring residential area around all of these growing commercial areas. So I think as we potentially progress with our strategic plan, some ideas and kind of additional parking strategies, the residential program is also going to come into play there. So we are currently collecting data on neighboring benchmarks, North Carolina, South Carolina, as well as we're trying to pull in some cities that are outside the general Mid-Atlantic just to see how we compare how they treat, business growth, how they treat the potential for business permits or some kind of shared type program when and if it becomes applicable in areas where the city may not have a 1,000 space parking deck to accommodate all of the commercial uses. So I think the res parking program will be a topic of discussion as we continue on with parking strategies outside the immediate downtown areas.
That's interesting. Yeah, thanks.
More to come on that one. So, all right, I appreciate the support, everyone, on this one. And Michael, thanks. It was good conversation on this one.
Oh, thank you.
Chance, you're given updates on the New Hanover County parking deck repairs.
Yeah, Christina, I thought this would be, I think some folks within the committee probably know about what's going on, some may not, but I thought it might be beneficial for the group just to hear about the county's parking deck closure, how long it's going to be closed, what's driving this, and so on, just some high-level updates. And I'd asked Jacob, who's the New Hanover County rep on DPAC, just to give a quick summary to the group here on this one.
Great, thank you. Jake?
Yeah. So we found this out through some pictures from Pivot. They sent them to us when the parking manager. Apparently, there's a few places in there that are cracked like this. The engineers say it's not structural, but it's going to take them about a week or so. So we're looking at the deck being closed it closed it yesterday, 7 o'clock, and ideally the goal is to reopen it on the 28th. I know they'd worked out some deal with their monthly parkers to get them, and then some employees, but I guess everybody else is kind of getting a discount, and then they're just going to have to pay wherever they can find it in the interim, as the way it's explained to me.
Okay. Jake, so so the parking deck is structurally sound. We're just making these repairs.
Yeah. It started from the bottom. I guess the main reason they're wanting to do it is because it is spreading a little bit, but they're not at any structural issues. It's all at like meeting points. they reiterated multiple times that the engineers confirmed that it's not structural, but there's a couple of those places like that. They just need to go in and reinforce.
Contractors for this?
Yeah, I think they're using the people for Project Grace. So they're just going to come over
Awesome.
and yeah, just can. Luckily, there's people working next door.
Yeah, it sounds like their subcontractor that Monteith is using is Capital Restoration. And Capital Restoration is the group that did the work, the very large project at Second Street a few years back, and also the Capital project at the Convention Center most recently, and the expansion joint with the Zipper Place. So they've got a lot of experience with this stuff. Jacob, I mean, I'm not involved in the details here, but I walked by and snapped a picture just for my own purposes. And it looks like it's just coming from that expansion joint there and it's spread outward. And if you look at it in this picture, the top right corner is a different colored concrete. It looks like they had done some previous repairs up in that general area, probably many years back, but it looked like pieces of that whole area had already been reinforced at some point.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was a shock whenever I brought this to the facilities department that they kind of already were aware, or either that or they went out really quickly and did a scout with their engineers, but they identified they didn't tell me how many. They just said there was a couple other places also that they were going to go ahead and just do them all at once.
Yeah, and in terms of accommodations on the city side, we were approached by the county, so we are assisting them, not guaranteed parking.
Yeah.
We are assisting county with the juror parking for the courthouse. We are assisting the county with their employee and sheriff's parking. Both of these at the Second Street deck and the Market Street deck. I think by day between those two locations, we've got, I don't know, 350 to 400 empty spaces. So there's quite a bit of capacity by day to accommodate the overflow and relocation, I think, of most of the parkers coming from the county side. Temporarily putting the two hotel valets operation at one of the old 305 Chestnut upper lots off 4th Street. So that gives them the ability to park cars for there. I could foresee us potentially running into some capacity issues at Second and Market Street on Friday and Saturday night, especially since the weather has turned toward the better. I think on the regular, we're selling out Market or hitting capacity at Market regularly on a Friday or Saturday now, but somewhere between the 7 and 9 o'clock range without the county's overflow. I think on a heavy Friday or Saturday, we might have 200 empty spaces at Second Street. So we'll see what this weekend looks like. There is a decent amount of capacity at River Place in the evenings. So if we do hit capacity at both of our kind of centralized locations, we'll send folks down the street to River Place best we can. And then if that fills, then, we'll see what our options are down the street at the Convention Center and just really utilizing all the resources we have to fill on-street spaces and elsewhere.
Okay.
Chase, going back to the Second Street parking deck discussion that we had many months ago when the city was looking to potentially offload that deck as surplus property. Is it still surplus property?
Yeah, it's still on the surplus property list from council's action last summer. I'm not aware of any rush nor priority nor any bids or offers coming in on that property or comboed with the parking deck and the Harrelson building there.
Okay. I think this next couple of weeks should be analyzed by Pivot and parking team a little bit to see what the fluctuations will be and what the overflow will be should this parking deck ever be fully utilized by both the library component, the museum component, and also a private side component once fully developed. I think this hiccup might give us a good indication of what the capacity and the demand might be once that entire project is finished and comes online, being the utilization of that parking deck as well as the utilization of the surrounding parking decks to accommodate needs for business, for the museum, for the library, for jurors, for the county. This may give us a little bit of a window to what the effects might be.
Yeah,
It's a really good point.
Yeah, we'll be taking data across the board at our neighboring facilities.
Well, thank you, Chance, and thank you, Jake. I'm going to move on to administrative reports. Chance, are you ready for those?
Yeah, just a few on the city side, then I'll pass it on to Corinne with Pivot. Our Market Street capital project is now complete, and I don't want to throw the county under the bus or anything toward the county, but it's kind of a good segue just to kind of pat our city selves on the back. I mean, we've spent a lot of money. We've tried to be as proactive as possible on some of these concrete repairs and capital projects, especially at Second and Market Street, where you've got a 22-year-old parking facility and nearly 33-year-old parking facility. But we've tried to be ahead of the curve in terms of any of these projects to avoid a full-blown closure or even a partial closure. For those of you that were on DPAC around the 2022, 2023 area, we had a $2.3 million rehab project at Second Street parking deck, and never shut that thing down completely during the 1.5-year process. We had temporary interim closures on floors, but we were able to strategically and proactively do some major repairs in that facility without really having to fully shut down the facility. So I think it was a good segue just to kind of show what we've been doing and why we've been doing some of these capital projects across the board. Skyline, a small concrete repair project. I think I mentioned this last month. We finally got our bids in, quite a bit less than what we thought we were gonna look at. So we've got about I think it's around a $8,000 or $9,000 haunch repair there coming up. Shouldn't be invasive at all. We'll need to probably take half a dozen spaces out of service for a week or so to get that completed. And last but not least, on the city side, just a reminder to everyone, Live Oak Bank concert events and other events are gearing up. I think the beer, bourbon, and barbecue was last weekend. That was kind of been the kickoff for the event season there at Live Oak Bank Pavilion. I think there's about 15 concerts already on the Live Nation event schedule, Zoe Fest, and so on. So just things kicking off and getting busy downtown. And I will hand it over to Corinne on the pivot updates.
Good morning. So annual power washing has been completed in all facilities. So I wanted to share some updated photos. These are River Place. The whole garage was washed. Residents and Ruth Chris complied. One of the things we did differently this year is we did not wash during nighttime at this facility due to the impacts to the residents hearing the noise of the power washing throughout the night. We washed during the daytime and just blocked off full-on levels. And then we did a flip once the topper levels were completed and vehicles were able to surpass those levels on the top floor and park on the lower floor. And we just kind of did opposites. The deck was completed in 3 days with the addition of the replaced stairs on Water Street and the corridor passway between Ruth Chris and the parking garage. Second Street, we completed the whole first level. This was the exit and entrance. Convention center, the whole deck. Events were not scheduled, so we worked with hotels to complete the wash. and accommodated their parking. Market Street, the whole garage floor was completely washed. And then the next slide. 929 was also washed, but this was only levels 1 to 3. So our next on our list is after Azalea Festival, we will stripe the facilities. River Place, we are working on doing more directional and pedestrian walkways actually painted to go towards the staircases on every level, as well as on the bottom, you'll see that stop sign. That's going to be on every level as well when you're entering the facility and making that hard, sharp corner around the garages. We decided to go with the red paint, so it kind of pops a little more. And we are also going to do all directional arrows as well in every single garage. On the right, you'll see we have a rough mock-up, very, very rough, but this is due to the freshly colored paint on every single floor at Market Street Garage surrounding the elevator. The scope is to add on some wayfinding for a more concrete finish look that will hopefully surface well with the new painting structures that just went down.
Yeah, and at River Place, I don't know that we've really discussed this at DPAC, but we do get a lot of input from the residents and parkers there for just cars driving fast, potentially speeding there. That first level / second level has a rubberized waterproofing membrane on it. And when rubber hits rubber, there is screeching at times. So sometimes it's kind of the perception of speeding versus speeding, but we're updating the markings here and also creating a pedestrian walk across the middle of level 2, just in hopes that it kind of just naturally slows down some of that traffic and just creates a safer environment over there.
These are some of our projects that my staff has completed. They go around the curves in all the facilities. You can see on the left, Market Street was just bare concrete. Chance yells at me because it was bare concrete, but we painted all the curves to make it more appealing to the customers and just some high vis traffic coatings. And then this is our update for Azalea Festival, the preparations that Pivot is taking. Obviously all the garage are doing a $10 flat rate. The 4th Street, we bagged the meters for the Wave Transit shuttle buses. 2nd Street lot, the Village Market on that side, we cone off for the stage. It's that whole entire, I believe it's that last 3 rows that we bag off. Monthly parkers are rerouted. They get a whole parker blast that they get sent out, and they are able to park in the Market Street facilities. This is nothing new to them. They know that this is occurring. Meter poles removed by Dalian lot, by the bleachers. Live Nation event is the Flow Rider concert on April 4th. And again, we do the handicap segways right down all the way on by Harnett and then all the way on Nut Street. The Hilton Palace, we block off for the Azalea Festival Queen, and then the barricade for the 99 visitor lot. And then our arrival time will be 8 a.m. for the 10 a.m. start of the festival all 3 days. And that's all I have.
Ren, amazing updates, and thank you to you and your team. The parking decks, the parking garages look phenomenal. I can't tell you how much of a difference it is to walk into a clean parking deck that it's not riddled with trash and debris that get blown in from storms and all that. So kudos to you all, and thank you for improving the aesthetic of the entryway to from the Market Street deck. It looks really, really nice, and that curve is just it pops. So the vibrancy of the district is enhanced by your team effort. So I appreciate it very, very much. With the Azalea Festival, I would love it if there were some sort of flyer or map or something that Pivot and maybe the city could release in regards to the new rates, blocked off meters, where people will be, or just in general where people should park and where they can park and how to get there. I do have some materials with the Azalea Festival, but it's more of like this really blocked it's really confusing. And I think we just need to highlight where the entry points are into the district and where people are allowed to park and where they're not allowed to go. In addition, when we had our meeting with the Azalea Festival crew in the city last week, I believe we are trying to, and this is note for DPAC, to open up the market or the north side 929 deck and have overflow at both the city lots on the north end as well as the city lot south of the city skyline center. So we'll have tons of overflow parking, and I'd really like to tout that this year so that people who may not be able to get there exactly at 8 o'clock in the morning will be able to at least say, hey, we can, if it's 10 o'clock before we enter downtown, we can get downtown, we can park here, and we can still enjoy the festival, the parade, and all of that. It's just a short walking distance, 3 blocks from the Azalea Festival. Challenges in the past has been, it seems to folks, at least the locals, that downtown completely shuts down during the Azalea Festival parade, and we lose a lot of business. And so if we can get this information out into the public, I think it'd be really beneficial to get people down here and to keep them down here and help our business community out as well.
Row can help to, in a minor way anyway, get the information out to the people who live in the district, who are having visitors, people coming in. I'm not sure how much that would help, but Row can step up and get the information out to their members. If you give me something that you want me to send out, we'll get it out.
Christina, great points. Let me talk with traffic engineering. I know they kind of have a separate behind the scenes map. I'm not sure how much that gets blasted out. But on their map, I'll see if they can't highlight parking and then those 2 access points pre-parade and then during parade. And for some reason we can't get this compiled and pretty and ready for a public blast this year. It's definitely something we should have in our Rolodex every year to send out to the public. Because I think the discussion about opening up that front street MLK access point heading into the area and now having a 1,000 space parking deck at Skyline, a 250 space surface lot next to Skyline, to allow that flow of traffic into downtown from the north end heading into downtown, which we've never had prior to last year. And last year didn't really go so well because there was just some confusion, but having that ability to potentially keep traffic flowing into the downtown area and a parking resource to get folks parked and out on foot during the parade is huge. We've never had that before. So if hopefully between the PD barricades and logistics needed to get folks off MLK down 3rd, Harnett to Skyline or points further into the barricaded area, I think this is a win-win, and hopefully gets more pedestrians into the area and out of their cars quicker.
Certainly, and to highlight too where the entry points are. I mean, people just get so confused on where they can get into downtown, especially the employees who need to be here. So any way to give folks a little bit more direction, because quite frankly, the maps that the Azalea Festival provides, they don't do a good job of showing folks where the access points are. And I would like to broach the subject with the Azalea Festival next year, and instead of breaking up into zones for Market or 3rd Street West, is to have 2 zones only. One to have the red zone where the festival is on Front Street, and 2 to have just a general pass to enter into the city, because nobody's going to be fighting to get to the north side if their pass is for the blue south side, and nobody's going to be fighting to get into the yellow side if their pass is for the blue. I think two passes maximum for that core, and one gets you into the district, either north or south, and the other one gets middle. But maybe that's something we can talk to the Azalea Festival about next year, and making things a little bit more cohesive. I'm passing out passes right now, and folks are severely confused. Folks have requested passes. I know Hell's Kitchen basically requested every single color pass they could because they were unsure where their employees would be coming from to get inside of the district, and it's just really it's been difficult to navigate. So
Yeah, it's tricky. We might need to look at just the centerpiece of those shutdowns. Because I think, yeah, there might be a complete shutdown to the point where you can't get across Second Front or Water Street if you're coming from the south now with the kids area. I think Second Street's shut down. So it might be, this might be an after action. We always have that after action meeting a month or so after the fest. So keep those comments in your Rolodex, Christina. Definitely something we should bring up, post fest for next year.
Yeah, I brought it up to the Azalea Festival people last year. I was at some meetings and talked to them about all the parking that's on the north end that people don't know how to access. I mean, there's over 3,000 parking spaces, and there's people parking at, 23rd Street and walking 20 blocks to get to the parade. And we've got all these parking spaces. I was down here for the festival last year, and my decks were almost completely empty because people didn't know how to get there.
Yeah, CFCC deck's kind of tucked in a tough geographic blockade.
If they can figure out how to even have a window of an opening and communicate it, people could get down and park for the day and spend the entire day downtown and not have to walk 20 blocks. People don't want to drag their kids 20 blocks.
Yeah.
Well, with the map of where people can park, I think a good traffic map of where people can drive through the district and what there needs to be a highlighted area where people can move through the district, which roadways will be open and accessible for vehicles. Because without that, we're not going to be able to get people downtown, and they will be parking up Market Street to walk in when it's really unnecessary. And then, on top of that, all the parking amenities are losing revenue because people are finding whatever they can on the streets to the east and not coming into the district. So like you said, Chance, all things to talk about.
Yeah, I think we see how this hopefully new, very, very, very positive option of getting folks into Skyline quicker and earlier works, and then we can hopefully build upon that moving forward. And if we could, the CFCC deck is a tricky one, the student deck at least. I mean, that's a huge capacity. What do you got, like 1,100 spaces there? Another one just like Skyline, to where you've got between the Skyline and CFC deck, you've got 2,300 parking spaces. That's a huge.
Well, you got like 900 at Skyline. I've got over 1,800 at the Hanover deck, and we've got over 400 at the Nut Street deck.
Yeah, so you're 3,000 plus parking spaces on the north end that has historically been shut off until 1 o'clock during the fest. So, Sean, I think this new option, honestly, the discussion was really focusing on getting folks off of MLK and 3rd into Skyline, but there should be a route open to get folks down to your staffing Nut Street deck as well as the convention center as well. I think there should be a zigzag open path that gets folks down there as well. So just heads up, you might see a little more activity.
Or even just a communication as to what time it would be opened up, because a lot of people perceive that it's closed the entire time because of the parade.
Well, maybe we can all work together to send that blast out prior to Azalea Festival weekend and do it multiple blasts, so we make sure we get through the public, through the city communications team, through WDI, CFCC, DBA. I think between the four entities, we may be able to, get some information out there to for folks to make adjustments and plans. All right. Any further discussion? Corinne, thank you very much for your presentation. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to organizational representative reports. Chance, do you have Lieutenant Nichols' report handy?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I need to pull it up from my laptop.
While Chance is working, any at-large members have any reports? CFCC, Sean?
We finally got the gate project behind us. We're collecting revenue, so I'm happy about that. We're looking now for vendors to do pressure washing at our decks. They haven't been done since like probably 2020, possibly before that. So they need some cleaning and striping. We did get a lot of groups reach out to us for the county deck. Unfortunately, we're not close enough for many of them. We were able to help out a few, but we've got the space, especially nights and weekends, but we're just not close enough to come. That's all I've got.
Hey, Sean.
Christina, I've got it up now if you want me to run
Okay,
over,
go ahead.
WPD's update. Bar inspections, I'm assuming this was basically February through current in March. Bar inspections 5, violations 1, drug charges 6, all misdemeanors, 4 DWIs, 80 other. No major incidents to report during St. Patrick's Day weekend festivities. That's always a good positive there. And WPD has purchased a new horse for the mounted unit last week, and they're planning to retire Comay in the next couple months. And it sounds like Comay has been with the agency for 18 years. So
Wow.
a good long-term tenure there in the mounted unit. And beyond that, nothing to report from Lieutenant Nichols.
Thank you, Chance. DBA, Gary, welcome.
Thank you. Just happy to be here.
Anything to report from DBA?
No, I don't have anything yet.
All right, great. New Hanover County. Jake, you're good? Okay. Michael Rowe?
Row, not specifically. I would say that Row members are involved in the Uptilt Film Festival, which starts tomorrow night and runs through Sunday. But that's the only thing going on with our members at the moment.
Great, thank you. For WDI, I'm currently hiring for another employee, so I'm one person down out of 2 employees, so flying solo again for the organization, but we're going to keep things moving. We have put out a survey for the Azalea Festival in regards to receiving barricade passes. We are the barricade pass giver, I guess, for this year. This is the 2nd year in a row that we're doing it. In WDI's newsletter, we are releasing a bit of information at the top with a link to a survey for businesses and whomever else to fill out. They go through the survey, it gets placed on a spreadsheet where I can keep track of who needs what and when they've received their passes, and they have the option to pick it up here at WD offices inside Common Desk at 226 North Front Street, or I will be happy to deliver just on the condition that everybody remains patient with me as I'm trying to run WDI and distribute passes at the same time. So if you all could share that link, I will respond to the latest DPAC email with that link to the survey. Share that link with your community members if you need it. Sean, I know you emailed me this morning. I haven't had a chance to respond to you just yet, but once I send that out, if you fill that form I will be able to get you your passes for the employees too. So, Sean, anybody else needs those barricade passes, please fill out the form and give me a heads up that you have documented your request. And that's all for WDI. Any questions? Hearing none, I will go ahead and call for a motion to adjourn.
Hey, Christina,
Yes,
real
sir.
quick. Is there an update regarding the, what is it called? The pilot program that they had in the Brooklyn Arts District? And I'm sorry if maybe I just missed this, but I know that we had discussed some parking changes on 4th Street and like, I'm just trying to be proactive, I guess. Was there any concern about people missing out on parking during those weekends when they shut down? Is there anything that we need to do, I guess, as a committee to look at that for establishing parking passes, or because we are shutting down a pretty significant portion of that street, and I don't think you can drive through it,
You
right?
can, yeah, the social
Oh,
district,
you can?
yes, the social district
Okay.
remained open, but there is a music festival that's going to be coming in July. That is looking to shut down North 4th Street in certain portions. I believe they're trying to shut down from um, right there next to the WMPO offices all the way to Brunswick Street. I'm not sure what pattern they're looking at for diverting traffic right now. I actually told the festival crew to maybe get in touch with you to see what we could do about getting some residential passes for the weekend so that they can have access to their properties during that time frame. During the Brooklyn Arts Social District, we did have two residential complaints. I believe Chance received those of them not being able to access their properties to park, to deliver groceries. So we are seeing some, as the Brooklyn Arts District gets more and more active, we are seeing some tension there between the residential community and the people who are trying to park to go to these businesses and to visit the district. We, during that 3-day pilot period, worked with Chance to get a parking sign and direct parking to Brunswick Street, and to have folks walk from the short distance from Brunswick Street into the middle of the Brooklyn Arts District. The social district spanned from Walnut all the way to Davis Street, beginning at Flytrap Brewing and ending at Don Lucas Pizza. So there was a huge spread of that 10-block radius for parking, and we thought that the Brunswick Street parking deck would be the best one, or the 929 deck would be the best one for visitors to access the social district. And should this become a permanent social district, which I think the Brooklyn Arts District Collective is trying to advocate for, well, actually, I know it's what they want to advocate for, Saturdays from noon to 5. They will be going to, if approved by council, they'd be going to an every Saturday daytime social district. So that will definitely impact parking within the district. So we need to be cognizant of those impacts should they come in, and maybe even have a discussion with this committee on how we can alleviate some of that. I know, Sean, you have a potential dark parking deck that may come online for people to use. We have the Brunswick Street. Troy, I know you have that lot that you've been selling some monthly passes to. So collectively, maybe we can come up with a good solution for the residents and or the visitors to that district moving forward. But as far as I know, the social district will not close any of the streets, but that one concert series in July will.
Okay. Awesome.
Troy.
Well, thank you so much.
Christina nailed it, and I don't want it to be a wait and see, but I think we took a lot of notes, heard some feedback from those first 3 days. I think if the request comes to council for a permanent every Saturday, I think it'll normalize a little bit, and it won't be kind of quote unquote fresh, shiny, and festival event based like it was for those first 3 times. So I think we gather data. I think if it is presented and approved permanently by council, then we'll continue to take data. And then based on what we see on a normal Saturday or any residual from that Saturday, we can bring some ideas back to DPAC on some kind of permanent strategies. We've got some ideas, and similarly to what we had discussed with DPAC a year ago, just in the Brooklyn Arts area as a whole, it's unmanaged, number one, so that presents its own challenges, and number two, it's a classic commercial business use versus a residential condo type use without parking. And I think a lot of those residents there that live in a condo along 4th Street that don't have parking have had the ability to park front of house for many, many, many years. And as business increase and activity increases in that area, there's going to become some natural challenges. But I think what a lot of people overlook is the fact that, between the Skyline parking deck, the CFCC student deck there's nearly 3,000 parking spaces right across nearly a block or two from the core of the social district. And then you add in the surface lot that's attached to your building over there at Hanover and 3rd Street. I think it's Hanover and 3rd Street. That's probably another 100 spaces open for the public. And I talked to Midway recently, and it sounds like there is some monthly parking available in that lot for a resident that may want to have guaranteed parking for $60, $70 a month. So there are parking options there. I think we just need to see what the long-term impacts are, and then just put some ideas together to bring back to the group here.
Yes, would it be
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys.
Would it be beneficial to maybe form a subcommittee to talk about the social district and meet a few times to try and iron out some details? I know Jeff was working on it prior to his departure, looking into the Brooklyn Arts District. I heard the feedback was not so positive, but if there's a way to really dive down deep and see how we can mitigate some of these challenges going forward, I don't think the social district or the concerts are going to be the issue. I think future, if we're looking like long-term vision,
I agree.
You've got 4 empty parcels that are ripe for development out there, and you as soon as you put a 50-unit condo or apartment complex with bottom floor retail in there, you're going to see some very, very big challenges, and it's coming. And we've got a 340 key hotel that's going to go in on the north side, potentially a few other developments on the north side. So we've really got to start thinking about what we're going to be doing as far as parking solutions on the north end, because that 1,000 space parking deck isn't going to be able to take the growth that we all hope will come. So it might be good. I don't know. I know, Chance, you don't need another committee, but if there's a way to
let's call it a instead of a committee, let's call it a working group that we can potentially put together. Okay. I think, yeah, Christina, I think between those 3 empty parcels, if a large mixed use development comes in on especially one of those large parcels, it changes the whole dynamic of that area on the parking side, both commercially and residentially. So yeah, I think the social district is another addition and piece of the puzzle, and we take it from there.
Thank you, Troy, for your questions.
No more committees, though. Working group, no committee.
Yes, sir. All right. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move it.
Michael, second. All right, Gary. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you too. Take
Thank you.
care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.